Hello again, comic fans, and welcome back to another round of pulse-pounding action on Grudge Match, the show that kidnaps characters from the DC and Marvel universes, spirits them away to a neutral location, and makes them fight gladiator style for our own amusement to determine who is the superior combatant. Today's match sees a pairing of the two preeminent energy sappers of their respective universes going head-to-head to see whose power thievery is more potent. From DC Comics, it's the big, bald, purple people eater, Parasite, against Marvel's Southern Belle with a penchant for ass-kickery, Rogue. These two characters both utilize the relatively unique ability to touch their victim and not only steal their abilities and powers, but also sap all their energy, leaving them dead or completely incapacitated with just a touch. Even some of the most powerful characters of their respective universes don't prove immune to these abilities, but what would happen if the two of them turn their touches against each other? So taking a look at them individually and starting with Parasite, Parasite is actually a name of several characters in the DC universe who have taken on the Parasite moniker over the years. The original Parasite was Raymond Maxwell Jensen, created in 1966, and his backstory was that he gained his powers when he opened a toxic waste container and was exposed to radiation that transformed him into a purplish pink-skinned energy-absorbing monster who went on to have several encounters and battles with Superman most preeminently. Now, after the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline, in which most of the DC universe was retconned and many things were changed around, the original Parasite no longer existed. The new Parasite is a man by the name of Rudy Jones, first created in 1987. His backstory and the way he gained his powers is exactly the same as that of Raymond Maxwell Jensen. He opened a toxic waste container that was exposed to energy levels that transformed him into a parasite creature who was, in most respects, exactly like the previous Parasite. He has the ability to touch anyone and absorb their energy right out of them, most normally leaving them dead completely, unless the being is powerful enough and has enough energy to withstand the touch for a certain amount of time, like Superman does. But he still has the ability to steal the majority of Superman's powers and severely weaken him, potentially might even have the ability to kill Superman with these powers if he held on long enough. Now, the Parasite is addicted to the energy he steals, and he actually needs it to survive. He doesn't really need to consume food for energy anymore. Now he just steals energy from other beings. And he doesn't have to simply take energy from other living beings. He can actually absorb virtually any kind of energy. So he could grab a live electrical wire and absorb the electrical energy out of it, or practically any other kind of energy as well. He also has the added benefit of his power to steal and absorb energy works with any kind of touch, meaning even through clothing he can steal energy from his victims. This is something that Rogue doesn't have the ability to do. With her, it has to be skin-to-skin contact. And when he was transformed by the energies and radiations that turned him into the Parasite, it not only changed his physical appearance, but it also gave him a certain amount of enhanced physical attributes that he retains even if he's not stealing powers and abilities from other superhumans. He has strength and endurance and resiliency that allows him to take blows and hits from beings like Superman without being totally obliterated by them, even if he has not yet touched and absorbed energy from Superman that would give him the strength and resiliency of a Kryptonian. So even before he takes the powers of his victims, he's still strong enough to withstand a fight with superhumans. This unique set of abilities has made the Parasite a erstwhile threat to beings even as powerful as Kryptonians and Superman himself for many years in the DC universe. Rogue of Marvel Comics, her real name is Anna Marie, first created in 1981, has been an erstwhile member of the X-Men for many, many years. She's a mutant who has the power to absorb the skills, abilities, memories, and personality of anyone she comes in contact with in skin-to-skin contact. So even when she touches non-powered humans, she can still absorb things from them, their memories, their personality sets, and even many of their abilities. So even when she touches someone like potentially Captain America, who doesn't have superhuman level abilities, she can still become faster and stronger than she normally is because she has absorbed that ability out of him. Originally, she couldn't control these powers, and that was how things were through most of her existence in comics, but in more recent days, she has gained the ability to control these powers, so she doesn't have to absorb energy out of somebody she's touching. She can control it. Most of the power she absorbs are temporary, only lasting a short amount of time, but if she holds on to someone for too long, she can absorb their powers on a more permanent basis. This is something that was seen when she held on to Miss Marvel for too long and absorbed all of Miss Marvel's superhuman powers on a permanent basis. This gave Rogue the ability to fly, have superhuman strength, and increased durability, all the same powers that we see from Carol Danvers, who is now Captain Marvel. But she has since lost those abilities. So for a time, she just went back to having her regular mutant abilities to absorb other people's powers. However, in a recent Uncanny Avengers comic, she absorbed the powers and the psyche of the Avenger known as Wonder Man. And she currently retains these abilities. She's been separated from his personality and from his psyche, but she retains all of his ionic-fueled abilities. This actually makes her more physically powerful now than she was when she had Miss Marvel's abilities, because Wonder Man is stronger, more resilient, and more powerful all around than Miss Marvel was when Rogue took her powers. So, Rogue is even stronger and more powerful than she's ever been before, while still, of course, also retaining her ability to absorb people's powers and abilities and memories through skin-to-skin contact. So having taken a look at the backstories and the powers and the potency of their energy-sapping abilities, it's time to determine who would win if these two characters ever put their skills to the test against each other. The winner's going to be Parasite. The reason Parasite takes the win of this grudge match is that because between the two of them, his energy-sapping ability is just all around more potent. As stated before, he can absorb through clothing, which is something that Rogue cannot do. So, potentially, Parasite could block her ability to steal powers from him by throwing a blanket or something over her, but then grabbing her and absorbing her power through that barrier. So that's something that Rogue doesn't have the ability to do. And even though between the two of them, Rogue is more physically powerful with the powers of Wonder Man, that's actually going to be something that plays against her favor, because if Parasite gets his hands on her, he's just going to absorb those Wonder Man abilities for himself, essentially making him more powerful than he would have been if she didn't have those abilities to begin with. Also, Parasite has proven to be able to absorb anyone's abilities regardless of how powerful they are. Nobody has ever really been able to resist his energy absorption abilities. Even a character as massively powerful as Superman is not immune to them. However, there have been some incredibly powerful characters in the Marvel Universe who have resisted Rogue's ability to absorb them, such as Juggernaut or Apocalypse, and sometimes even if she can get some of their abilities out of them, she can be overloaded. Her power to absorb other people's abilities has been overloaded before if the person she's touching is just insanely powerful. So between the two, the Parasite just has more overall potent energy absorption abilities, and his energy absorption would most likely overcome Rogue's and allow him to sap her energy, sap the Wonder Man powers out of her, and just dominate the fight in that manner. So DC and Parasite take the win of this grudge match. Message me down below, let me know what you think of the outcome of this fight, and of course, any suggestions for future grudge matches. We'll see you next time on the next edition of Grudge Match.